Hello, viewers. Thanks for watching. It's been about 5 months since my last show, and a lot has happened since then. We have a new Miss America, Grace Stanke of Wisconsin. Congratulations to Grace, and congratulations to the Miss Wisconsin organization. I attended Miss America in December for the first time, so that was so nice. I got to go, and I had the pleasure of meeting several Miss Americas while I was there. I met Miss America 2022, Emma Broyles, while I was there. She was the first person I met at the Miss America breakfast. I met her dad also. I met Miss America 2018, Carol Munn and her mom. I met Miss America 2000, Heather Fritz Henry, sorry. And I met Miss America 1987, Kelly Cash Shepherd. I met Miss America 2020, Camille Schreier, Miss America 1969, Judith Ford Nash. I met Miss America 1963, Jackie Mayer Townsend. And finally, I met Miss America 2023, Grace Stanke. So, yeah, it was such an honor to meet these Miss Americas. I want to thank my donors real quickly, the people who have sponsored my show. Robin Rose has been a really good sponsor. So shout out to you, Robin Rose. Thank you for all your support. Michael Miller, Barron, Brandon, Paula DeWall, Daryl Presley, Cynthia Blackford, and Karen Hames. So thanks to all that support the show. I would love to get more supporters. You can donate to my Cash App, $JTROBIN. Also, look for the GoFundMe, the Pageant Pass GoFundMe. I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you're aware of when I have all my shows. But now we can get started. I'm very excited for my new guest today. She is Miss America 1977, Dorothy Benham Perez. Dorothy, welcome to my show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Jason. Glad to be here.
I am so happy to have you here. Thank you for your time. I know we've been planning to do this sometime. For the viewers, we were actually going to do this about 3.5 weeks ago, but I got sick and I had to cancel. But thank you so much, Dorothy. So let's get started. So you are,
Okay.
yeah. So you're from Edina, Minnesota. Is that correct?
Well, yes, somewhat. That's where I lived. That was the mailing address when I was competing.
Okay.
But I'm really from Minneapolis.
Oh, okay,
Right in
cool.
Minneapolis. And Edina is a suburb.
Right.
My parents had just moved into Edina
Okay.
just before I was crowned.
I actually am familiar because when I was in college at the University of Michigan, my best friend was from Minnetonka.
Oh,
And so,
sure.
yeah, so my freshman year of college, I went to Minnetonka over spring break, and we went to all the little cities in Minnesota and everything. So
Sure.
I am familiar, but let's get started. So how did you
Okay.
first start getting competing in the Miss America organization?
Well, it begins with my mother because my mother had a life out in Hollywood and modeling and all of that, and she being a
Wow.
singer as
Mm,
well. But then she competed for Mrs. Minnesota,
okay.
and she was the first Mrs. Minnesota.
Mhm.
And she was, I think, second runner up to Mrs. America.
Okay.
And there's some cute stories that she used to tell about that, but that's a whole other world.
Okay.
um, and so she took great pride in both of her daughters, both my older sister and myself, and
Mhm.
my older cousin. And my sister competed once
Okay.
in a local, and she was fourth runner up and talent winner. Then my cousin came of age, and she competed in a local. She was fourth runner up and
Mhm.
swimsuit winner.
Okay.
And then I was coming up in age, and they're all going, "You're next, you're next." And I said, "Nah, I'm not going to do this."
Right.
No, I don't think so. I don't think this is for me.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't until I had won the vocal competitions in my state for my age and category that
Mhm.
I didn't have anywhere to go and win more scholarship money.
Okay.
And I was sitting watching the Miss America pageant. Tawny Godin was crowned, and I said to my friend, "Hey, they give money. They give money for school. I could maybe try this." So my parents came home that night, and I said, "Okay, I'll compete." My stepfather that was a Saturday night. My stepfather Monday morning was on the phone trying to find the next pageant,
Okay.
and that's how it came about.
So what
So
was your journey?
a month later, yeah, my journey, sorry.
Um,
So that was September, of
okay.
course. And then in October, I think it was the very end of October, was the next pageant that I could compete in.
Mhm.
And because it was an open pageant, back in those days there weren't that many open pageants.
Right.
So I competed. So that was end of October, November, beginning of November, and I won.
Mhm.
And then Miss Minnesota was the next June,
Okay.
and I won. And then Miss America was September, and I won. So it
Wow.
was
So you
quick.
won
But
the
I'm
first
I'm not the
time.
only. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
I
Very, very cool.
it was cool, and it was good it happened that way, because when I won the local pageant,
Uh-huh.
my judges, of course, came storming the stage, and then you have a photo with the judges,
Mhm.
and one of them became a very dear friend of mine, Kathy Langenfeld, and she said to me, "If you don't win state in June, are you going to compete again?" And I had no idea what she was speaking about, because I
Oh.
wasn't familiar with the
Oh.
program or what it all entailed or would involve. And I went, I don't know. She goes, "Well, you can compete as many times as you want
Mhm.
to get to state. Once you've won state, that's it." And I looked and I went, "Nah, I don't think so. I'm a
Oh,
little busy." So
right.
it's a good thing, I guess, it happened the way it did.
Yeah, the first time was a charm. So, when you competed, you were a talent winner and a swimsuit winner.
Yes.
Double prelim
Mm.
winner.
Yeah.
So, how did you feel going into the final night of competition at Miss America?
At Miss America, I truly felt I would be top 10,
Okay.
having been a double prelim.
Right.
And I thought, I don't think I did that poorly in interview.
Yeah.
But you don't know. Really, once you get to that level,
Mhm.
you just don't know
Yeah.
how everybody else has stacked up point-wise. So I
Yeah.
felt I had enough points to at least make top 10.
Yeah.
And but I wasn't nervous, and I would have been okay if
Mhm.
I did not, because my goal heading out to Miss America was to win talent my night, and
Right.
I won that.
Oh,
So I
cool.
had achieved my goal. I was very
Right.
happy. I could have gone home and said, "I did what I needed to do," and make myself proud, but it just
Yeah.
went further.
I actually judge pageants. Last year I judged Miss Michigan and Miss Vermont, and the year before I judged Miss Utah. But one of the guys I judged Miss Utah with, Randy Pruitt, sorry, he said that girls don't have like an accurate perception of how they did an interview, because one time I was judging and I thought this girl did amazingly, and then when at the end, she like ran out the room, like she was
Mhm.
so nervous, and I was like, "Why?" I was wondering, why did she run out? Like, cause it was so great. But I
Yeah.
think that sometimes, like you said, you just don't know, and don't know how the other girls did as well.
No, you don't know, and I've judged many, many state pageants, and if I've been head judge, I
Uh,
have made it clear that I feel we need to make sure every candidate walking in needs to feel good about our interview.
oh, okay.
And I just think that within the first couple minutes, you have a
Mhm.
pretty good idea
Yes,
as
you
to
do.
how far you can push them
Yes, you
with
do.
questions,
Right.
and if they start to look like a deer in headlights, you back off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you go right back to where they're comfortable, because you've
Right.
got an idea now.
Yeah.
For me, it was just I did not know what they wanted, and so I just was honest.
Right.
And I still think that's the best way that you can be. And if you don't have an answer, it's best to go, "I don't know."
I agree, and at the end, I was going to ask you about advice that you would give to girls who are competing, but since we're kind of touching that subject, I agree. Any girl who's out there who's competing, be yourself, because I think judges want you to be your true, authentic self.
Yeah, we do. And you know that, being a
Yeah.
judge too, because as a judge, you start to feel nervous if you sense the candidate is nervous, and
Mhm.
none of us want to be nervous. It's difficult to be a judge.
Right.
It really is. You want to make sure you're asking the right questions, that you've presented them well, and you've made her comfortable. So neither position is really easy.
Right. So I want to play your crowning moment video for the audience. And then after the video is over, I want to ask you, what were your thoughts, after it was over, when you were on stage, you're Miss America now, what were your first thoughts? Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So for the viewers, here's the crowning moment of Miss America 1977, Dorothy Benham Perez.
One of these 6 lovely ladies will be our new Miss America. Which one will it be? the winner of a $15,000 scholarship, Miss America 1977, Dorothy Benham, Miss Minnesota. Dorothy Benham of Minnesota, now Miss America of 1977. Hello, dear Miss America.
Hello.
And it is a lovely thrill.
Oh, it's a very exciting thrill.
And in just one moment, there's your runway. There are your subjects waiting to greet you as we sing your song. Here we go. Oh, there she is, Miss America. There she is, your ideal. For dream of a million girls who are more than pretty can come true in Atlantic City. She may turn out to be the queen of femininity. There she is, Miss America.
Okay. So Burt Parks calls your name and you're Miss America. What is going through your head at that moment? How do you feel?
Well, I already had a feeling that I had it,
Okay.
if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden you're standing up there, and all week long everybody said it was between me and Carmen, Miss Texas.
Okay.
And then she's called as second runner up. And then Lavinia is called as first runner up. And I'm going, okay,
Yeah.
I think this might be it now.
Right.
I'm standing up here. I was a double prelim.
Right.
And I said, I think this just might happen.
Yeah.
So it did. But I will be honest with you and say that during rehearsal that day, because you don't leave convention hall, you just don't leave at all that day. You're there for every meal. You report in the morning, and then it's 10 o'clock at night. You're going live.
Wow.
For a pageant, and your adrenaline is rushing. But I also, I don't know. I just had a feeling that I was not going to go home, that this was going to happen. So when the crown was put on my head and it was called, and I went, oh, I didn't pay real good attention to rehearsal today. What am I supposed to do? And I'm thinking, I do believe Bert will tell me to walk the runway. And luckily there was on a dolly, the camera that was being pulled with the cameraman seated on it, holding the camera, and they were motioning me to come back and keep walking the runway. I got to the middle of the runway. I looked to my left and I saw my parents being escorted out. I looked straight ahead of me when I got to the end of the runway, and both my cousins were on their chairs, standing and screaming, So I go, okay. But then I didn't know how long I was supposed to stand there. And finally the cameraman said, turn around. I went, okay. Or at least in my brain, that's how I felt. Okay.
Right.
Turned around and then went back up, and they told everybody, stay where you are, stay in your positions, don't leave. Because they wanted me to walk up the stairs up to where they had the throne and all of that. So really that's what was going through my brain, is I think I've done what I'm supposed to do.
Okay, very cool. One thing I loved about your crowning and the crownings from years back, the runway, when you walk down the runway, we just love when Miss America walks down the runway, and that has disappeared over the years, and I hope it comes back.
It would be wonderful if it ever came back. I don't know. I mean, who knows? I'm just glad that I was during the era when it was there.
Yeah. Kylene Barker, Miss America, I think she was 79, I think. And she told me how grand things were, when she was crowned Miss America. And I mean, I would love some of that back, some of it.
I'd love it all back.
Since we're on the topic,
Bring it all back.
I had an order, but since we're on the topic, what do you think about the changes? There's been leadership changes, evening gown, red carpet, lifestyle and fitness left, and then and now it came back in some kind of format. Like they're going to do a routine, I think, with the new sponsors outfits on. Platform was changed to social impact. Now it's community service initiative. So what do you think of those changes? Where it's going? Just any thoughts you want to say about that?
I don't know if any of us truly know where it's going.
Okay.
To be honest,
right?
And I've lost interest.
Oh my goodness!
I'm just going to be that honest with you and say I've lost interest. I wish all the candidates well, and I hope they gain from it what I believe we gained from it. I don't understand why we have to keep changing the names of everything, because it's still the same thing.
Right.
Interview is interview. Social impact. I don't know. It's like, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
So I'm saddened that we are not the same format that we were.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with changes here and there. I mean, if you look back, Lenora Slaughter, thank goodness she changed what she did.
Right.
And her thing was, let's get you off of the beach and onto a stage. Let's take you out of the swimsuit, keep that, but put you in an evening gown. Then let's make sure you're well-rounded.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if we've lost focus on being well-rounded or not. And to be really honest, currently I don't see leadership. So I'm waiting for that.
Yeah, it's just changed again. And
yes.
And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and be optimistic that it's going to move in a good direction, and
Let's
keep the old traditions from before. So I'm hopeful that it's going to be, get back to, some of the good things that
fingers crossed, right?
Yeah. So what were your favorite and least favorite phases of competition? Just curious.
Oh, well, talent was easy for me because I was a music major, a music performance major. So that's the direction I was going. I had no qualms about that. Swimsuit didn't bother me at all. Basically, growing up, we lived in bathing suits up on the lakes in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Evening gown, I thought I can walk in an evening gown. Mm-hmm. I can even walk and talk in an evening gown.
Right.
And it was the interview that I was the most curious about and did not know what to expect.
Right.
So that made me a bit nervous because I'm not someone who gets nervous, especially over performing and all of that or being on stage. But I remember at my local pageant going, what in the world is this going to entail? And we were seated in the auditorium of this school. Mm-hmm. And of course, one by one, they brought us back into a private room. And then the questions began. So because I didn't know what to expect, I just answered the first thought that came into my head, the most honest.
Right.
And when I walked out of that interview, I thought, I have no idea how I did. Oh. I don't know if I'm what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with I think Kathy, who then became a dear friend, I believe she was the head judge at that time. And I said, Kathy, I have no idea how I did an interview or how I came across, because basically growing up, I was very shy.
Oh, okay.
Very shy and very quiet. Then all of a sudden you become Miss America and boom, something changes and you become more vocal because people want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
He said to me, there was a quiet confidence.
Okay.
And I said, yeah, I've seen that in other candidates now that I've judged.
Right.
And as long as there's a confidence and you can answer the question and back it up, then I'll believe you.
Right. Did you have like a lot of interview prep?
Zero.
No.
Zero.
Oh my goodness.
None. I just went in. I really had no idea what to expect at all. And I did nothing to prep going to state either. It was just appearances and busy in school.
Right.
I was
Okay.
busy in college and busy traveling not only with our college choir, but I also traveled with the orchestra as a
Mhm.
soloist for them. So I was very busy and I worked. So you
Oh,
go to school, then you're doing all this performing and you're working and you're just trying to have the life of a young lady.
right.
Um, so no, I did nothing. And then I won state, and my state judges said, leave her alone.
Oh, good.
Don't do anything to her. Don't
Oh,
send her
good.
to a modeling school because there's sponsors everywhere, which is
Yeah.
fabulous. I mean,
Mhm.
sponsors don't get enough recognition,
Okay.
really. But my judges said, no, none. Just let her go. Let her go exactly as she is. So I had no prep. My prep was just my day-to-day appearances and talking with people.
I think your judges were wise because if I'm honest, I do believe that I have seen a state board or two sort of change their candidate for the worse. Like when the girl is crowned, I'm like, "Ooh, she looks Miss America ready to me." And then they make all these changes and everything, and then she doesn't get her name called. I've seen that happen before.
I've seen that happen too. Yeah,
Yeah. But going back to talent, you had an amazing talent. You were a talent winner. I believe you sang the laughing song.
I
It's in there.
did.
All right, and I have the video of it, and I want the audience to hear it. So for the
Okay.
audience, here is the talent of Miss America 1977, Dorothy Benham Perez.
Adele's laughing song is from the opera Die Fledermaus, which is written by the younger Johann Strauss. And now to sing this aria is Dorothy Benham, Miss Minnesota.
Look me over once, look me over twice, you will not remain in the dark. Look me over once, look me over twice, and laugh at your own remark. You'll quickly discover, I think, my blood is as blue as your ring. You'll find I'm well appointed, aesthetically jointed. So look me over once and take a look again. In me you surely see an oblivion strain. A lady's maid upon my soul. Excuse me if I lost control. What a blue so look me over once or twice. Look me over once, look me over twice. Examine the line of my spine. Make a resume of my vertebrae, appraising its rare design. You'll travel all over the globe to find such an ear and a lover, and then to make a recap, go over every name.
Wow, your talent is amazing. I loved it. You hit those high notes and you made it look so effortless.
Don't ask me to do that today.
Yes. Oh my God, your talent is amazing. So, some of my favorite talents over the years, we're going to talk about talent for a while. I love Heather Whitestone, the ballet. That was
So
one of my favorites.
beautiful.
Yeah, Jen Corey. I liked a lot of talents from 2010. Jen Corey sang she was Miss DC. Catherine Putnam, Miss Louisiana. I liked hers. Carissa Cameron, Miss Virginia, who became Miss America. I liked what she sang. Christy Cavender, ballet from 2010. Nicole Miner, she was Miss New Mexico. Two more, Ashton Campbell, Miss Arkansas. I like she sang Via Dolorosa, and Camille Sims, Miss New York. Those are just some of my
Wow.
I just wrote down, talent. Yeah, some of my favorites. What are some of your favorite talents that you heard over the years?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. You're asking me for like 40 some years, almost 50. There have been some absolutely incredible talents. I wouldn't be able to really,
Okay.
I don't tell you off the top of my head, of course, Miss America's, many of them have phenomenal talents,
Yeah.
Um, so you just, boy, I should have made a list maybe, but of
Well,
course, I mean, to me, Gretchen Carlson was the ultimate
okay.
talent.
Violin.
She was the epitome of perfection. But
Mhm.
then she was training to be a concert violinist,
Right.
So she gets up there and you just go, okay, wow, so yeah, and Heather's ballet is beautiful. They all gave something,
Right.
and Debbie Turner on the vibes, or
Yeah.
that was wonderful. Marjorie
Oh, on the piano.
Vincent's piano
Yeah.
was tremendous. And if you go back and watch even BB Shop, but okay, we do have to recognize Judy Ford's talent.
Okay. I am not familiar with her talent, actually.
Oh, Jason, you need to find this, because she did the trampoline.
Oh, okay.
She was on the trampoline doing flips with this big beehive hairdo, and we all sit and watch it every once in a while, and we just giggle. I said,
Oh,
who else
my
could have been
goodness.
doing backflips and frontward flips with a beehive hairdo
I
on
will
the
have to,
trampoline?
I will have to check that out. Speaking of BB Shop, I did get to meet her at the Miss America breakfast, and that was an honor
Oh,
because I
cool.
interviewed her on my podcast. So that was an honor to get to meet her in person.
She's wonderful, isn't she?
Yeah, she is great. Let's talk about your year of service. What are some of your fondest memories? Any stories that you want to tell? Funny stories, interesting stories during your year?
Well, the funniest story during my year was the first month I was Miss America, and I was in South Carolina,
Okay.
attending the Heart Fund Ball.
Mhm.
And I was the big entertainment or whatever for that evening. And they asked me to step inside with my traveling companion to the women's lounge so that nobody would really see me until I was announced and walking into the room.
Right.
And so we were seated in the women's lounge, and it was a beautiful lounge. It had a seating area and then the lavatories through another door.
Mhm.
And I said to my traveling companion, I'm in here. I might as well make use of the facilities. So
Okay.
I went through the door, and a woman at the sink saw me in her mirror, and she was washing her hands, and she went, oh, I mean, she became almost hysterical. She goes, oh my God. And she starts to shake, like she goes, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. She turns around, she comes to me, she grabs my hands, and she's jumping up and down going, I cannot believe I'm meeting Miss America, and I'm meeting Miss America, and the ladies, I can't believe this. Oh my God. And she just went on. So I started to jump up and down with her because I thought maybe I need to join in on this. And then she stopped, and she just looked at me and she said, oh, please don't go while I'm in here, because I don't want to think you do that sort of thing.
Oh my goodness.
So I waited until she left.
That is funny.
And I always thought that was a fun story. And of course, meeting any celebrity, I was in awe. Bob Hope, I was with a number of times, Elizabeth Taylor. There are so many. Phyllis Diller.
Oh, you met Elizabeth Taylor?
Yes, she was married to John Warner at the time, senator of West Virginia.
Wow.
And so, yes, as your year goes on, you're fortunate to meet these people that you grew up watching, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I have to say, I think the last month of my reign was the most meaningful to me because we had our USO tour and
Mm-hmm.
I got to share that with 6 other of my Miss America sisters.
Okay.
Well, state sisters, I should say,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
that were chosen to come along. And what a great time we had touring and performing for our servicemen,
Mm-hmm.
servicewomen. It was really something.
That is amazing that you could have you done that. That's amazing.
And
Speaking
to
of
close out your year that way, it was great.
I was going to say, speaking of celebrities, how was Burt Parks? What are your memories of Burt Parks?
Oh, Bert was the ultimate host of the program.
Yeah.
He was giving and he never wanted the spotlight on himself.
Oh, okay.
It was about the girls.
Right.
We called ourselves back then. I still like to call myself, hey, girls, let's go to lunch. But, it was not about him at all. And because I was asked back for many years, 7 to 9 years as a featured performer and a co-host, I got to work with him.
Okay.
And Bert came in last. Of course, most of us reported a week before the candidates were there because we were in rehearsals so that we all knew what we needed to do before the candidates arrived.
Yeah.
We would be in New York pre-recording the show.
Okay.
And then we didn't see Bert during that time. And then all of a sudden he's brought in. And I go, does Bert know all his parts and where he's supposed to be? And they went, oh no, we just let Bert do what Bert wants to do. And it was great.
Yeah.
A true vaudevillian, true performer he was.
Mm-hmm. So where do you keep your crown? Do you still have it?
Yes, it's upstairs and it's actually out of its container right now because my crown has been kept in a cookie tin.
Okay.
The day after you crown Miss America, at least back in the day, you were then taken to New York. Right. And you spend your first week in New York City for hair and TV interviews and all of that. And so the first night we arrived at the Barclay Hotel and my traveling companion, Peggy McMahon, said, Dottie, here's a can of butter cookies. And I'm going, oh, those are fabulous. I love those. And she said, well, you need to eat all of them before the end of the week because this is what you will carry your crown in. And it really was brilliant. It was the perfect size for a crown. I just took a towel. Eventually, I put a towel in there to keep the crown from moving around too much and banging. Yeah. But those butter cookie tins that stand, because my crown was only about so high, and it fit in there perfect. So that's what I've always kept my crown in, and it's still sitting upon that cookie tin.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Very cool. Very interesting.
No wooden boxes lined with velvet, for us back then.
Right. So you have 6 children.
I do.
Did any of your daughters ever compete how was it? How did your children respond to growing up and their mom was a Miss America? And did any of your children compete?
For the most part, I think that they've been proud of that. I think, and who knows, maybe at times it was uncomfortable for them as they got older. I'm not sure. Not one of them ever said they were uncomfortable with it. They all took the crown to show and tell in grade school.
Oh, cool.
So it was sent to be repaired a couple of times.
Okay.
But as long as they wanted to take it and share that, then I thought they must be okay with this.
Right.
And it's been a part of their lives, all their lives, because that's who I am. And it's been a big part of my life.
Right.
And yes, my second daughter competed. She was in college in Illinois. She had just transferred colleges and she was changing majors, and she seemed a little stuck to me. It was like going through school and all of that. And I thought I felt needed something else new. And I said, Maddie, maybe you need just a little different perspective in life. Why don't you just try a local? Just see, you'll meet new gals, you might make
Right.
new friends because most of us do.
Right.
Excuse me. So she goes, yeah, okay. So she did. And she competed for Miss Chicago, Miss Windy City. So she was crowned Miss Windy City.
Oh, cool.
And I said, well, you better pull something out of your hat for piano. She took piano
Uh-huh.
off and on. And she goes, oh, okay. So I had a friend, a pianist in Chicago. So he helped her a bit with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, well, okay. Now you have like 3 months to prepare for Miss Illinois.
Right.
So she went into that. She made the top 10 there, and it was a good experience for her,
Mm-hmm.
but not interested in doing it again.
I
It's
see.
a lot of work,
It is. I
you
bet. I
know?
bet it is. Yeah. Yeah. I used to be a local director in Virginia, so I could just see a little. The girls do put a lot of work into it and spend a lot of
Mhm.
money too. Actually.
Yeah.
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 I think I only have two more questions, and I will let you go. The first question we kind of touched on, but what advice would you give girls who are competing today? I know we both said be yourself, but anything else that you would add to it?
Wow. That has always been the advice I've given young ladies
Mm-hmm.
because I don't feel there's any other way to do it. The judges will see through you're trying to make up an answer.
Yeah.
It's always best to be yourself because you have to remember that's who you have to be should you win.
Right. Oh, that's true. Okay.
And do you really want to portray for a year? And if you win the next step for another year and a half, another 2 years, do you want to pretend to be something that you're not? And I've always said that because one of my state judges wrote me a letter right
Mm-hmm.
before I left for Miss America. And he said in that letter, always be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to be something that you are not.
Right.
Be true to who you are
Mm-hmm.
and be proud of that.
Very
Well,
cool.
I
And
did. And along with that came just be honest.
yeah.
Because when I was running for state, they they asked me, do you know who Joan Grow is? And I went, I have no clue.
Uh-huh.
So then I understood they asked that to at least one other candidate. But it
Okay.
bothered me enough that I didn't know who Joan Grow was that I
Mm-hmm.
started to ask around, and nobody seemed to know. Now, I think it's because we were all in our little pageant bubble
Right.
for a while, but even as I called them, the adults working and chaperoning us, none of them knew who Joan Grow was.
Okay.
And then finally, one of them got the answer for me, and it was a gal running for Secretary of the State for Minnesota.
Oh,
Luckily, we had 2-minute interviews at the end of the week with our pageant judges,
okay.
where it was like musical chairs. And when I got to that judge, I said, oh, and do I have an answer for you? So I gave him
Right.
the answer. But I felt great about saying, no, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it's okay. Like it's in the rules. It's okay to say I don't know.
It is, even as Miss
Yeah.
America, because I really did not know what to expect. Everything from local, state to national just becomes a bigger picture. Everything
Right.
is larger than life. And when you go into those interviews, and you're in at least one interview every day,
Yeah.
and sometimes 2 or 3, and you've got people throwing things at you that are so political.
Yes.
And I finally stopped one of them and I said, I'm not running for office.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not a politician.
Yeah.
I'm here as Miss America.
Yeah.
I hope I'm representing the majority of young women throughout our country, and I'm
Mhm.
here to promote our program. So I said, I don't know that country. Really, it was one I'd never heard of. And there's still many today I don't know. Some of them
Yeah.
are so young or so
Right.
small that I'm going, I don't know. It sounds like it's over there.
Yeah.
But I just got to that point where I'd put a halt to it and say, I am who I am. I'm 20 years old.
Right.
And I have a lot of life yet to live.
Excellent. 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 You are your true self. My last question is what would you like people to remember you for in life? What would you want your legacy to be?
Well, I've never thought about having a legacy, Jason.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, I looked at that question, and I looked at, what are you passionate about, and
Yeah,
this and
yeah.
that. And again, being honest, I think between raising 6 children and being a former Miss America and performing and a performer,
Right.
passion for me became what was realistic at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Who was I helping? Who asked me for help? And
Right.
then I would become passionate about that. What illnesses come up within your family? You become passionate about that. You start to raise money for that. So for me, it could have been cardiatrics, heart issues,
Right.
sarcoidosis, which one of my sons has, and we had
Mm-hmm.
never heard of that. Cancer, because we have family members who have had cancer. So your passion at the time
Right.
becomes that, and raising more awareness for it.
Yeah.
So I guess I've had many passions.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think the other question you asked is what would have been my platform. Back in the
Yeah.
day, we didn't think anything about platforms. Again, we were pretty self-absorbed in college and life and getting ahead.
Uh-huh.
But there were heart issues in our family, and that's still the biggest one in our family.
Okay.
Um, but because my father, or I should say my grandfather, because I thought he was my father, but he ended up being my grandfather.
Wow.
He was put into an orphanage
Okay.
when he was 5. And I knew that all my life. And I've done a lot of research on his life. And he always talked about how sad it was in the orphanages. And all my life, I thought, I'm going to adopt. I'm going to adopt. And that was a big passion for me throughout my
Mm-hmm.
life. And then I had 6 children, and I went, I don't have the energy to adopt now. So I don't know. It could have been so many different things.
Right. Well, I'm sure, as you said, at the time, whatever you were dealing with was your passion, and I'm sure that you made a difference, in the world. You raised 6 children, you were Miss America, so I'm sure that you have made a huge impact in the
Yeah.
world.
So and I guess if there's any legacy, I just hope people will say she was a good person.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
You just want to leave here knowing that you did good.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I want you, I thank you so much for talking to me. And I really appreciate you taking time out. I think the viewers really enjoy it. And so thank you so much.
You're
Please stay
welcome.
on. I'm going to talk to the viewers for a minute and close out the show. And then
Okay.
we can talk a little bit more and end the show.
All right.
To the viewers, thanks for watching. I definitely hope you enjoy the show. If anybody would like to contact me, my email address is jasontimothy.robinson@gmail.com. You can donate to my Cash App, $JTROBIN. Please click the subscribe button, click the notifications bell so you can be aware of when I have all my shows. And once again, viewers, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.